And in the build for rent space, involving a property manager early, right? How much are you going to build and where? Well, why? What kind of floor plans work, right? Get them to know the builder. There has to be a rapport there because the builder is going to turn this unit over to the property manager who now gets to walk tenants through it and explain how everything works. Field maintenance calls. Do you think that the property manager and the builder are going to have to interface and are going to have to get along? Absolutely. Do they always get along, Chase?
Not always, no.
I was thinking you were going to say, no, they don't. In fact, they rarely do.
One thing as a property manager that popped in my mind is that would be tough. It's a little bit of a juggling act when you're leasing up a new development or a new property, because you have investors that want to get as much for their unit, right? And they're expecting maybe a certain amount that was projected in a pro forma. But they also want to get it leased up as ASAP, as fast as possible. And we know if you lower the rents or maybe offer some discounts or incentives, that could help with that. So going back to understanding property management, there's a little bit of a juggling act if you're a property manager in trying to not give it away too much, but also maximize the rents when you're trying to lease up or stabilize. And I think, I'm not a property manager, obviously. I don't want that job, but I think that would get a little bit tricky.
Mm-hmm. But again, set that expectation, right? If you have that expectation set. So look for somebody who's going to shoot you straight, and it may not be what you want to hear, but if they're going to tell you something that's going to take a little more time, I feel a lot more comfortable with someone like that than someone that says, oh yeah, I'm going to get this leased up. Give me a month and I'll have this whole fourplex leased up, right?
Mm-hmm. And then going back to your question with the builder, property manager, do they get along? No, not always. Rarely, right? It's a tricky situation in the fact that the builder, there's certain things within when they build a new property that maybe they need to fix or certain things that the property manager doesn't agree with. And so a lot of times there could be some headbutting there, and it's good to have someone involved to help that conversation.
Yeah. Well, because the temptation is there, and where these two worlds meet, you're talking about two different businesses.
Yes.
You're the build for rent owner. You hired a builder / contractor to build a house, an apartment building, whatever. And now at some point that is not going to be the builder's responsibility anymore. It's the property manager's responsibility. And it is very, very tempting for them to throw each other under the bus. That's what we say around here.
Yeah.
Right. The scenario being, for all those of you that are thinking of doing this won't be the last time this comes up for you. And you got to really short circuit this with your builder and your property manager ahead of time and talk about how this will come up. And when it does, here's what I need you to not do. Right. And so for the builder, it's, when there's a concern, that property manager's too stringent. They don't get building code. They're not a builder. They're just crazy. That's them getting out of what could be a legitimate problem. Or maybe it's not, right? Now, the property manager, really easy for them. If lease up's going a little tougher, maybe they're having a harder time hitting those numbers. Well, how easy is it to blame the builder? The builder really didn't do this right, and that's why I'm not performing. Now, that may be true, but that's what's so frustrating about it is it's this middle ground where you don't necessarily know. They're sacrificing one another to look better to you, the client. So be prepared. That can and does happen, and you've got to address it. That's why it's good to involve the property manager at the beginning. So they're buying off on, okay, what kind of scope of work, what finish level, what floor plan are we doing here? So when later down the line they're squawking about it, hey, you were okay with this, right? You've got to be able to have that kind of a productive conversation, because Sherida mentioned something it's a hard balance to walk. We want somebody who's going to be aggressive, who's going to go out there and get high rents and do the best that they can. But also that property manager needs to impress you. They need to fill units. And so you don't want to get to the point where they're lowballing just so that they can keep the heat off of themselves, right? Mm-hmm. There's a line that you walk between let's get units leased, leasing velocity is what they call it, versus are we leaving money on the table, right? I don't have a great answer, but you need to watch for that because it can definitely be an issue.
And I like how you brought up bringing a property manager early, because if you have a good property manager that understands the market, bring them in early with the builder, with the team, and understand that it's a team working together to make it happen all the way from start to finish. And by bringing them in early, maybe you can fix a couple things within the floor plan, tweak a couple things that might help a little bit to get higher rents or whatever the case is. So yeah, I liked how you brought that up.